Angeles with La La Land and Moonlight. Aaron Katersky's following that story. Last week, it was here in St. Louis where almost 200 Jewish headstones were vandalized in a cemetery. Now it's happening in other places. Aaron Katersky, ABC News correspondent, good morning.
Well, good morning. This is about 500 headstones, according to volunteers who tried to pick them all up, that were vandalized, toppled at Mount Carmel Jewish Cemetery in Philadelphia. And there's a reward now in excess of $10,000 for information leading to an arrest. The police don't know who did it, but it did seem to be, more than just some random crime, given the amount of headstones that were overturned.
You can't knock over, here in St. Louis, it's awful hard for one person to knock over 200. And in Philadelphia, you need a group of people to vandalize 500 headstones. So it isn't just some random person, right? That's what they have to be thinking.
Yeah, no, I think it would be tough to imagine that it would just be, one person. But nonetheless, they just don't know. It was sometime after dark on Saturday when it happened, and then police were notified the next day when somebody reported that headstones, 3 of them belonging to his relatives, were overturned, and then they did an investigation. It's a big cemetery, and they sort of meandered through, and they found more than 100 other headstones, and then volunteers got in there, a group from all cross-sections of the community got in there, and they started counting, and they found 500 headstones that had been vandalized.
Any chance it's a copycat and or connected? I mean, do they have any leads whatsoever?
It doesn't sound like they do, but it's an interesting question given what happened in your neck of the woods last week, and then an arson at a Tampa mosque and other crimes that are being investigated as to whether they're intentional or not. Kansas City, the shooting there. There's been a general increase in bias crime, specifically anti-Semitic crime in many big cities since the start of the year. There's no specific reason for it, but the police have certainly noticed.
Yeah. Also, it takes not only a couple of people to knock over 500, it also takes them quite a bit of time to do it as well. No video, no one's seen anything, or is that part of the investigation?
I guess that'll be part of the investigation, but there doesn't seem to be any video because we're not sure there are cameras trained on the cemetery or not. Mayor put out a statement just calling it heartbreaking and vowing that whoever did it would be caught.
Yeah. Aaron Katersky in New York. Thanks for checking in, Aaron.
All right, McGraw.
708 here, Big 550 KTRS. That story, sends chills down your spine. But, same story here in St. Louis. It takes a while to turn over 200 headstones. I can't believe nobody saw anything. And with all this video going around, I can't believe they can't get to the bottom of that. So we'll keep an eye on that. Coming up here in a couple of minutes, Melanie Sheets, a good friend of the show, runs an organization called the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition. I know a little bit about this organization. It is a wonderful organization. They're in desperate need of foster parents for the first time in more than 15 years. Why is St. Louis short on foster parents? Well, we are short on foster parents, not because people don't want to be foster parents, but there are too many foster kids. So the supply and demand, there are too many kids, and they are overwhelming the social services. Why is that? Why are we seeing an uptick in children who are being abandoned by their biological parents and in need of others to pick up the slack? Heroin. So not only is it destroying communities and families, but it is putting a strain on social services. Melanie Sheets, the executive director of the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition, will join us in a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes or so. 7:10 here, Big 550 KTRS. Also more with Jason Nathanson on the 89th Academy Awards. It'll go down as one of the biggest blunders in awards ceremony history. They named the wrong movie as Movie of the Year. But it overshadowed a bigger story in that the show was great. There was an Iranian director who refused to go and had a woman, Miss Ansari, read an acceptance letter. He refused to go to stand up for the other Muslims who are not being allowed into the country. It's the first time a Muslim won an Oscar with the supporting actor from the movie Moonlight. So, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel was tremendous. The musical Sting was fantastic. John Legend was fantastic. The other speeches, Viola Davis' speech was one for the ages. I mean, that last 2 minutes of the show overshadowed what would have been a tremendous Oscar